destination weddings and honeymoons and passionate about travel in general. So as you can tell, passion is a word that I like, and so it's one of our recurring themes for this morning's presentation. We're going to talk about how to tap your passion to create killer content and help to shape your image and build even more business so that someday we can all live like this glamorous couple from the 1970s at the top of a Boeing 747. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, let's see if I can handle the technology. The challenge that we all face, no matter what kind of business we are in nowadays, but especially those of us in the travel business, is information overload. There's so much information out there. If you go online, there's just a quick Google search for travel. People are inundated with travel, with travel everywhere they go. They're getting ads via email. They're getting ads showing up on Facebook. They're getting ads on YouTube, on television, everywhere. So I want you to step back, go back in time in your mind. If you want, you can even use the piece of paper and jot down a couple notes. Try to think of 2 words that first attracted you to the industry you're in right now. What were the things that motivated you? What was the allure that helped to keep you interested in this industry and pull you into what you're doing today, whether you're a travel agent or a tour operator or a wedding planner? So think of those 2 words or jot them down if you like. And I have one thing that I'd like to bet. In most cases, I think most of us didn't write money down. Because let's face it, if we all wanted to be billionaires, we would have gone into finance or we would have gone into banking or something else. We probably would not be where we are today. We're all motivated a lot, I think, by love of travel. And that's a good thing, because very few people get to do something in an industry that they're really passionate about. So that's something that I'm here to talk about today, because if you love travel, you love the excitement of weddings, of destination weddings and all of that, you're in the right place, and you have something that most people don't have the benefit of in their own careers. And what that comes down to really is passion. Again, that word pops up, and that's going to keep popping up, because that's going to be a building block and something that we need to go back to constantly in order to create the content, whether it's videos or blog posts or ads that will that'll grab the public's attention. So, a little story about passion. I want to tell you about an airline called Chesnut Global. It flew in the 1970s. Probably a lot of you or most of you may not have heard of it, but they had a big fleet of Boeing 747s, 727s. They flew all around the world. But the thing is, nobody knows about this airline, even though they had these beautiful 747s, because it actually did not exist. It was all in my mind. Yes, what that means is that I was this weird kid in the 1970s, and I was so obsessed with travel, so obsessed with the glamour of it all and all that, even though I'd never been in a 747, I created my own imaginary airline. I used to call up airlines and pretend to be a travel agent so they'd send me travel posters. I stole things from airports, but don't tell anybody. So, and I'm sure if you go back in time, there were probably things that you fantasized about or that really attracted you to the travel industry or to the destination wedding industry in the first place. Maybe not as weird as me, but that's okay if you're not as weird as me. That might be a good thing. Anyway, so Chesnut Global is long gone, although it still lives on in my mind. But this is an example of how the things that happened when we were kids, the things that we loved, the things we were attracted to when we were kids, should help shape what we're doing now, because you go back to the original passions, you go back to the original excitement. So I want to look at a few people here who in other industries, they're not in destination weddings, they're not in travel, but these are great examples of people who have turned their personal passion and excitement and hyperactivity even, into something so exciting that it transcends their topic. And this is something that you might want to keep in mind also. You see at the top, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's a scientist. I have almost no interest in science. I don't understand it. I'm not that smart. But when he's on television, and he is quite a bit, I listen to him because he puts things in a way that I understand. Not only do I understand it, but it's interesting and it's exciting. He transcends his topic. Again, and then Rachel Ray below him. I don't cook. I don't want to cook. I like to eat, but I'm bored by cooking shows usually. But if she's on, again, her energy, her passion, it transcends her topic, and so it draws me in, and obviously it draws a lot of people in because she's on television all the time, and she has, her empire has expanded far beyond cooking. And then Bill Nye the Science Guy. Again, science, I'm bored by it, but he's an interesting guy. He makes it interesting. And then to the right, we have Susie Orman. I also hate finance. I'm always nervous that I'm not gonna have enough money to ever retire, but when she talks, people listen, right? And so what they all have the ability to do is they take topics that are much less interesting than what we all do, right? And they turn it into something exciting and compelling, and they put a human face on it. So I'm not saying that all of us can or should be as famous and omnipresent as these folks, but it's something to keep in mind. We have an advantage over these guys because we're dealing with something that people actually automatically, they usually do want to hear about. They do want to hear about how to make a wedding great. They do want to hear about how to make their next vacation really memorable. So that's a good thing. We have an advantage over these people. So how do they do it though? How do they transcend their topic? One way is by entertaining. They make it fun. They make it interesting. They assist their audiences because they're providing information and news that we can use, things that we can take home and use ourselves. They connect with people on a human level, and that's very important. And if you're a travel agent, you know a lot of people are booking things online without using a travel agent, but you know better than anybody, also as a wedding planner, that the human connection is very important, and that's something that we're selling, and that's something that's very important. They excite people because they're so hyper and all around the place and putting a human face on it in a really cool way. So they excite people. And then, of course, they motivate people to better their lives or to make plans to better their lives for the future. And then this last one is very important for those of you in the room here, of course, is they convert people. Not only to their way of thinking, but in our case, we want to convert people to be our customers. So you not only want to entertain and excite and motivate, but then you want to make sure that they convert to become your customer, so that when it's time for them to plan their wedding, when it's time for them to plan that vacation, that all-inclusive vacation in Mexico, they think of you because they know that you're the person who's connected with them on a human level and provided them with great information, gotten them excited, and you know more than anybody else. So that's good. So getting now to content, going back a few years again to 1996, a gentleman by the name of Bill Gates said that content is where I expect much of the real money will be made on the internet, just as it was in broadcasting. And he is, in many ways, he's very much correct because content is very important on the internet. The internet has just about everything you can imagine, but if you don't like the content you're looking at, and that includes visuals, that includes video, photos, words, all kinds of things. If you're not interested in it, then you're not going to pay attention to it. So if it's not a topic that's of interest to you, or if it may be a topic of interest to you, but it's not well done, well put together, or compelling, or fun, you're not going to pay attention to it. So he's very much right. But not all by itself. Content in itself is not good enough. You also need a strategy in order to get your content in front of the right people. So I want you to step back again and think of yourself as you're not just a travel agent, you're not just a wedding planner, you're not just a tourism industry representative. You are your own media empire. Does anyone recognize what this movie is? It's a very old movie, Network. You know it, okay. So you probably won't be as crazy as this guy, I hope, and you probably won't be as weird as I am. But what I mean by saying you are your own media empire is that you control the communication to a larger extent than anybody ever has in the past. And why is that? Because of the internet, because of social media, because of apps. In the old days, if you wanted to reach your customers, you either had to take out an ad in a newspaper or magazine, or you had to talk to editors and journalists and hope that they'd write about you, or else do direct mail, things like that. But that was about it. Today, the walls have lowered, and so you don't have to go through those channels to directly reach your audience. And that's really, really exciting. It presents so many new opportunities to us. They've been around a few years, but people are always discovering new ways to address those opportunities. So You are not just a travel agency or wedding planning agency or a tourism office. You are your own media empire because you can create content that goes directly to the general public and can potentially reach thousands or even millions of people. And I bet there's some people out there who, I'm a journalist, so part of my job is to create content that goes, that's read by a wide number of people. But I bet there are some people out there right now who have more followers on Twitter or Instagram than I do. So that's just an example of that. So the walls are lowered, so keep that in mind, that you control the media in ways like never before. So what do you need in order to succeed as being your own media king or queen and expand your business? So of course you need the right format, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. You need great ideas and great content. Again, content is king, and content is what is going to attract people's attention and keep them and make them want to pay attention to you. A story to tell. You need to inspire people. And then a strategy and plan for implementing your content and putting it out there on a regular basis. You also need time, because content, I know none of us have enough time to do anything. I know I don't. I'd rather be sitting in one of these really cool chairs right now. But anyway, but you need to devote time to it on the long term. You need to think long term, because if you start posting, you do a few posts on Twitter, for example, on Instagram or Snapchat, whatever, and you think that automatically you're going to get thousands of new customers or calls, that's not the case. So you need to devote time in the long term to it. And then, of course, again, you need passion. So content formats. There are a variety of different choices. You have blog posts. You can create your own blog. Some of you may already have that. There's a lot of social media options. There's Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Snapchat has become increasingly hot. And video, of course, YouTube is a major feature that a lot of people use. And also there's Periscope, which, does anyone out here use Periscope to promote their business? Oh, look at that. Okay, good. Yeah, because it was just introduced this year, and it allows you to broadcast live directly to the general public. So it's a fun thing to do, and it could be, I'd be interested in speaking with some of you who are using it to see how it's working out for you, because I think it has a lot of potential, and since it's so new, we have to wait and see exactly how it works out. There's, of course, podcasts, there's webinars, there's guest writing, which means you can volunteer, or somebody at your company can volunteer or get paid to write a column or a one-time article for a local newspaper or a national newspaper or a local magazine or a national magazine or a website or someone else's blog. There's also a public speaking, so you can make presentations like I'm doing right now, where you show your expertise. You're not giving people the ability to do something without you, you're just showing your expertise and drawing them in so they'll know that you know so much that they want to come to you when it actually is time for them to plan their Mexico vacation or whatever it may be. Price guides. A lot of different travelers have a lot of different budgets. So if you're looking for the ultimate luxury, once-in-a-lifetime getaway, that's one thing you can write about. If you're looking for the best family budget vacation, that's another thing you can write about. Seasonal gift ideas. Right now, it's the holiday season, and so it's a big time of year for things like that. You can do roundups. You can also do price specials. Black Friday, I don't know if any of you all did anything Black Friday or Cyber Monday, but on my site, on Latin Flyer, for example, I just get inundated with the offers, and so we try to do roundups of especially Cyber Monday, but also Black Friday travel deals. Videos and recordings, even at events. I have run into some people, some travel agents and tour operators who at events like the one we're at right now, they'll walk around the showroom floor. If they see an interesting booth or they have an appointment with someone that they really want to learn from and partner with, they'll actually bring their smartphone, do a couple minutes of an interview either on Periscope or YouTube or just on their own website, and create some video content like an interview with, all right, so tell me, what is your hotel doing that's really special for wedding groups or for couples or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of different types of content that you can create. Now, getting content ideas is very important, of course, and so there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Following industry news, of course, is something that we all do, and that's important. So keeping on top of what's important. If there are very specific topics or destinations that are of interest to you, you can set up Google Alerts, which is really handy. So you could enter Mexico weddings as a Google Alert, and that means every time something comes up that matches that, then you'll get an email or you'll get a notice. So you can stay on top of the latest news. Also, watch social media. So you should be following your friends and following your colleagues and following your family, following your competitors and your business partners and all of that to see what's trending right now, what's hot, what's the hottest new thing that you should be thinking of. Listen to your client questions. Excuse me. Listen to your client questions, and I found this can be a really good source of content ideas, because some of my best story ideas for my own site, for example, have come when friends or customers, because I work as a consultant with some travel industry folks too. When they come to me with specific questions, like, oh, I'm wondering, like, how should we be promoting this Puerto Rico as a family destination? Questions like that may seem like, oh, I don't even have time to answer you, especially if you're not even buying from me yet. So you can still use those questions, use those things as ideas for articles and for blog posts and for podcasts or whatever your preferred mode of communication might be with the general public. You can also hire outside writers like me or bloggers and content producers to pitch you ideas, whether it's on a one-shot deal or just once every 6 months or once every quarter. You can get outside help and you don't even have to spend that much money on it. And I'll go into that in more detail in just a bit. You can also consider things like best of roundups, so like the 10 best places to tie the knot in Mexico, for example. And also wish lists, especially in the holiday season, for example. What are the must-see destinations for 2016 that you, as a travel agent, or the 10 top destinations to get married in for 2016 that you, as a wedding planner, in your own personal experience, are seeing from your clients. So you can also do presentations, again, public speaking. So you can arrange to volunteer to speak in front of a small local group if you're in a small city, a huge local group if you're in a big city, or travel to a major conference and share your expertise with other people. So that's a great way to build your image as well. And also then, when you get questions from people before, during, and after your presentations, make note of it, because that can be things that can lead to other content ideas or other ideas for presentations as well. So it's an ongoing process. You can also do your own surveys. You can use SurveyMonkey or Survey Gizmo in order to do surveys. It could be of a specific geographic region if you tend to sell in one specific geographic region where you're located, or it could be on a national basis, but say, where are people from Chicago going for their honeymoon in 2016? Do a survey of your current clients and of other people as well. So all of these can be really interesting and great content ideas. Also, you need to think outside the box in order to really create excitement and tap the passion. And that's because, again, we work in an industry that's much, much more exciting than most industries, isn't it? And even though we have to be up for this 8 a.m. presentation, which is not that exciting. But anyway, we work in an industry that ties in with so many other things that people like to hear about. People love travel as it is. People love destination weddings as it is. But you see travel appearing in movies and TV, and it's used in fashion, it's used in art, it's used in music. Look at the guy up here. This is James Bond, and this is from the current movie? No, that's from one before. At any rate, he's one of the world's most famous frequent flyers, and he doesn't even exist. But this is the type of thing you could put together some things that tie in with the latest James Bond movie, which is actually what I did. You'll see on the left here, I did a roundup of must-see James Bond scenes in Latin America, and this appeared on Latin Flyer. And then also tying in with Hollywood again, around Oscar time, I guess it was last year, I put together a list of 27 must-see Latin American movies. So none of this is anything that would draw away from your business. It would actually just help to inspire and excite your customers. And people who've already worked with you, they might love to get this kind of information because it's fun information, and get it via a newsletter, via email, or else just read it on your site. So pop culture can definitely drive traffic. So let's tie in all of that excitement together. So where do you get content? Who's going to create it? You yourself, you're sitting there right now, you obviously are a good source of content, and you can create your own content. That's a duh. But also your staff and coworkers, if you have staff and coworkers, and a lot of you don't, I realize that. So there are other options as well. You can go to suppliers, you can go to tourism offices, you can go to tour operators, etc. A lot of them have video that they'll supply to you that you can use on your own website or on your own blog or on your own YouTube channel or on your own Pinterest or whatever it might be. They'll have photos, they'll have beautiful photographs, they'll have text, they'll have content, they'll have articles, press releases and things like that, and video. The one thing to be careful of is you don't want it to be so ad looking, or if it has too much of the feel of an advertisement, too much like an ad, if it reads too much like an ad, or if it's a video that's just like you're watching a television commercial, that might turn people off because, you know, the general public knows. We know when we're looking at something that's just a total promotional ad. So try to find the suppliers that you work with that can supply stuff that's really unique and more inspiring and more exciting. Professional travel writers, as I mentioned before. There's freelance content experts. I work as a content provider for a lot of travel industry clients and tourism offices and tour operators from the websites of Vacation Agent Magazine, which they also publish, and TravelPulse.com to appear right on your website. So when people go to your website, they'll see, hey, wow, this agent or this wedding planner, they must know their stuff because they have the latest news. They're really on top of it. Even though you're not the one posting it, it goes up there automatically. So it's another way of showing how you're really connected with the stuff that's happening. And then again, your clients and the general public. So any comments you get, questions, reports, you can do interviews with clients. And if your clients, I'm sure you have some clients who are really big into posting photographs and videos from their trip and commentary from their trip. So you can always ask them if you know one of your clients is really into social media or really is a really good photographer, for example. A lot of them will be delighted if you say, you know, I'd love to feature you on my own company, the agency Facebook page or the company website or the company YouTube channel. Do you mind if I do that? A lot of people will love that. They'll feel flattered. So they can be your own clients can be a good source of content as well. And usually it's not like you have to pay them either. So very important is to be practical and consistent. So as I mentioned before, you need to establish a content strategy. And so you need to think of the overarching goal of what is the main goal of your content. Obviously, I think for most of us in the room, the overarching goal in general for anything is that we need to bring in new clients, we need to maintain our existing clients, we need to make money. So that may be the overarching goal. So we need to step back, make some notes, do some brainstorming. What type of content will help you to reach that goal? And how do you deliver it? And what type of content should it be? So one way to determine that is to know your audience. So you know who your clients are already. So you want to step back and look at your audience, both the ones you have, your current clients, and also your future ones, the ones that you'd like to have. So who are they? Where do they live? What is their approximate age range? What's their approximate income range? Where are they traveling to? Where are they getting married? And also, this is something you can do as a survey, or just when you're talking with people on the phone, or when you're interacting via email, whatever. What do they read? What do they like? What would they like to see more of? What websites do they go to? How do they gain their information? What social media do they use? So ask them. You have access to a lot of people already, and so that can help you to formulate which platforms, because if everybody that you ask who's a client of yours says that they're using Instagram, then maybe you should think about using Instagram too. If nobody says that they're using Instagram, then maybe you shouldn't spend too much time on that. So also establish an editorial or a content calendar, and again that plays to the fact that we need to stick with it. You can't just do a couple posts or a couple videos or a couple photos a year, or when you have time, when there's nothing else to do, because that won't pay off in the long run. So establish an editorial calendar. You can do it for 1 year out or more, even more. So that will include is the dates for when you will publish, whatever it is that you'll publish, whether it is videos or just photos or blog posts, writing, whatever. What topics should go at certain times of year. And you have a pretty good handle probably on a lot of what you'll be doing for 2016 already. So if you know there's a fam trip that you'll be doing in February, for example, schedule something related to that in terms of your content for March. And then, of course, you need to be flexible because sometimes things will come up that will upend what you had planned. So there should be some flexibility in that, but it's definitely a good idea to plan ahead because also that way you can prepare content ahead of time. So if you have downtime now, you could actually be working on tweets or posts that won't run until March even, and then they'll be ready. If you need help, you can use things like Google Calendar or a spreadsheet. And then also use, if you use WordPress, for example, for your website or for your blog, they have a calendar plugin that you can also help, that will also help you to organize. Delegate responsibilities if you can, and time. So again, we don't have a lot of time, none of us do. So if you can, delegate that. So on the spreadsheets or on the calendar, you'll indicate who's gonna create what, who's gonna post it, who's gonna promote it and share it, and how much time will they devote to it. So obviously creating content and driving traffic in this way is not your primary job. So that's why you need to set aside a specific amount of time, devote the time to it, but keep it at a limit and delegate. And if you don't have someone else to delegate or to share the responsibility with, again, there are freelancers, people that can help. There's virtual assistants, there are freelance writers and video producers and all different types of things you can work with. So a few more content tips. If you're writing headlines, and whether that's for YouTube or for your blog post or even for a Facebook post, if you want to know what types of headlines attract attention, there's this really cool thing I found out about recently called the EMV Headline Analyzer. If you Google EMV Headline Analyzer, you can just enter whatever headline it is that you're thinking of using. For example, the top 10 hotels in Mexico, and it will analyze it and show you how compelling it is on a scale. And so you can play around with different ideas. So you might want to try out first, the top 10 hotels of Mexico, but then follow it up, okay, that doesn't look like it's scoring that well if I use that. How about the 10 most amazing hotels in Mexico you'll ever see? Use the EMV Headline Analyzer or other headline analyzers. It's kind of fun and addictive, but it can help you to hone your language so you can use language that will drive more traffic. You can also use the Google Keyword Planner to identify the keywords and terms that have high search and low competition. And what that means, is high search means that a lot of people are looking for it. So a lot of people might be looking for Mexico vacations, but low competition means that there's not a lot of content that comes up when they search for it. So if you can figure out things, topics and keywords that a lot of people might be looking for, could be 1,000 people a week or 10,000 people a month, but there aren't that many things coming up when they search for it, that can help you to determine, all right, this is the type of content that I should be focusing on. These are the types of keywords that I should be using as well. You need to create a sense of excitement and urgency or scarcity. And I think we've mentioned that before during this conference. Some other people have mentioned that. And a sense of urgency or a sense of scarcity attracts people's attention because we want to be able to get the last deal before it disappears, for example. Or we want to be the first person to go to that hot new hotel that just opened in Cancun or something like that. So you create that and then you resolve it and then you come out looking like the hero and the expert. And then by doing that, you also are creating content that people are going to want to share. They're going to want to comment on it. They're actually going to use it, and they're going to have it in mind when it's time for them to book so that they'll want to go to you. And tell a story, because when it comes down to it, we're all human beings. We all probably love to travel too. So keep the personal side when you can, because you want to be able to show the excitement and tell a story and show the excitement that awaits those people who use your services. So when you use your insider experience you can identify and solve problems, you look like the hero. These are a couple examples. These are some things that I wrote that appeared both on Latin Flyer and on the Huffington Post. 22 tips to bring the joy back to air travel. Because a lot of people, most of us probably hate air travel, especially when we're in the back of the plane, which is where I usually am. I'm so special. Anyway, so when you see something like this, 22 tips to bring the joy back to air travel, it does kind of it catches your interest perhaps, grabs your curiosity. So people do read through lists like that. Also, This one ties in with the other one ties in with the current craze about Cuba, especially in the United States, since the relations have been thawing. More people are talking about Cuba than ever before in the United States. And some people are feeling this pressure, like, I need to get to Cuba before they open a McDonald's there, before they open a Starbucks, and all that kind of thing. So I wrote this piece, should you ditch your Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic vacation and go to Cuba instead? And basically what this article addresses people's feeling of urgency that I have to get to Cuba now, but also it highlights the difference, because for travelers from the United States especially, the Cuba travel experience is still very, very different from if you went to Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic or Mexico for that matter too. So that addresses that and what people should expect. What are the positives and negatives and the things that make a Cuba vacation experience different for travelers from the US? I know for our travelers from Canada that they've enjoyed the travel privileges more freely for a much longer time, but for us it's still kind of different. So those are just a few examples. Some other things to keep in mind is to always show your enthusiasm, always show your excitement. Don't be afraid to do that. It doesn't have to be dry, and you're still professional even if you show excitement and get worked up about things. And you show your expertise in a way that helps your audience. So again, going back to things like Susie Orman, you can show your expertise in a way that people will take it home and think about it and sit there and use it when they're starting to ponder their next vacation or their upcoming honeymoon or whatever it may be. Visuals are very important. When we say content, remember that it doesn't just, it's not just limited to writing blog posts or writing advertisements or sending out an email newsletter with specials. Photos attract a lot of attention. Video can attract a lot of attention. And if you have video on YouTube, for example, that can appear in search engine rankings in a different way. We're just wrapping up? Good, okay. And then if you just have an article with no video. Even drawings, if you're a good artist, even if you're not a good artist, imagine that. I might have a good time visiting the Facebook page or the Instagram page of a travel agent who was a really bad artist, but like sketched everything they saw while on a trip, but then accompanied it with photos to show how it really looks. That might be kind of fun. Anyway, post on a regular basis. Again, keep to your schedule. And diversify your social media approach, but by no means should you use all social media, because you could be wrapped up like a full-time job just keeping on top of that. So you need to figure out, again, which social media are appropriate for you to use based on who your client base is and who your target audience. Capture the excitement and address the emotion, because when it comes down to it also, you're not selling just a product or a service, you're selling an emotion and a real experience. And that's something that most people, most professionals do not have the advantage of doing. So we already have a big advantage by being in this room, because we work and travel, and it's exciting, it's emotional, and it's a really cool thing. Another thing, talk to your niece. This is my niece right here. She is doing what she's not supposed to be doing just for this photograph. She's on her cell phone at the table during lunch. But talk to your younger family members or your friends' family members to see what they're doing in terms of social media, because a lot of times they're on social media, types of social media, forms of social media that we don't know about yet. But when you talk to them, a 14-year-old girl is not your primary audience at this point, of course. But what she's doing now can influence and will probably be a precursor to what other travelers who are older and will be your clients are using. So they can be a good source of ideas. Every time I see her, she lives in South Florida, I'm in New York, I always say, so what apps are you using now? What websites are you visiting? And it's a great source of information. Also, congratulate yourself because you're here today. Congratulate yourself because you are a successful professional and you're doing something that's a dream job for many people. And that's really, really cool. Don't forget your passion no matter what. We work in an industry, we do stuff that other people only dream about, and people see our photographs from this trip, and I bet they get excited about it and wish that they were here too. So our job is to share this passion, make it accessible to other people, make it exciting, and then we've done our job, and then they'll come to us for even more. So thank you so much for having me speak here today as I trip over this chair. And if you would like to get a copy of this presentation, you can email me or give me a card either right now, or I'll be doing another presentation in a couple hours. And this afternoon, I believe I'll be at booth 21, the Latin Flyer booth. So thank you so much and enjoy your morning.